Hello, everybody. Gary Haynes, Next Step Partners. Maryland Living, Retirement Living. We're here today as part of our podcast series. Today we're going to talk about legal issues as we age. We probably don't want to talk about those, but it's probably one of the most important things as we move into our retirement years. I have my pleasure to be with Natalie Peruca from Bird & Bird, the law firm, and she specializes in senior law. So that's what we're here to talk about. Natalie, what does senior law entail?
Okay, well, the term of art is elder law.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, elder law. Just to, when people are talking,
Yeah.
And it entails several different areas of law. Estate planning, obviously, asset protection, powers of attorney, end of life kind of issues. So it's a conglomeration of law that kind of it's an area of law that is built up over the years, and that you have, oftentimes the estate planning attorneys kind of naturally flow into that, because most of the time people think about estate planning as the end is nearing. And they really should think about estate planning before then. We should be more proactive than reactive.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. Just a continuation of the planning you've done prior years in your life, but specialized to that time in your life.
Yes.
So really the topic for us today is probate. A lot of people don't understand probate. It's confusing to them. Talk to us about probate. When it happens, does it always have to happen?
Okay.
Tell us a little bit.
So probate is what happens after you pass away. Okay. So any estate plan that you've already done, pieces of it kick in at that point. Some of it is prior, some of it kicks in before you pass away, but probate is what happens after you pass away. And it's a procedure where what happens is if whether or not you have a will or not, okay, if there is anything that you owned individually that did not have either a co-owner or a beneficiary, didn't belong to a trust, if you own it individually when you pass away, then nobody can do anything with it. Okay? Oh. You have to go to the orphans court of the county in which the individual passed away. You have to petition that court to become the personal representative. Another word for that is executor. And then the Register of Wills issues what's called letters of administration. And it's those letters of administration that allows the personal representative to then execute whatever assets are in the estate. So that's kind of how it gets started. And if you estate plan really well, you may not ever have to have your estate go through probate.
Is that because you've put things into a trust, or
many different ways? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first thing that the first level of an item or things that won't go through probate probate was the things that are covered by your will, the things that your will dictate what happens to. Is if you own a house with your spouse. That's generally what most people do. They own it as what's called tenants by the entirety. And so when the first one of a spouse passes away, the house becomes the other spouse's by operation of law. So probate got nothing to do with it. The Register of Wills won't even see it. Okay. The second item is anything that you have a beneficiary on. Okay. So if you've got bank accounts that are not co-owned by anybody else, but you have a beneficiary. Okay, so for some of my retirement accounts, I've assigned beneficiaries to them. So when I pass away, my beneficiaries will take my death certificate to those institutions, and they will be able to access that money as beneficiaries. Again, the Register of Wills, it's like blinders; they won't even see it. Okay, and then there is the final tier, which is a trust, and that is a more expensive item. It's a more expensive option. It clearly it doesn't cost you any more money to have a house by tenants by the entirety, or to put it doesn't cost you any money to put a beneficiary on an account, but it does cost money to create a trust, and a trust is a tool, and it's a tool that has certain purposes and will accomplish certain goals, but might be too much of a tool if you don't necessarily need a trust. I use the analogy, you can use a hammer to open a window, okay? And there are some instances where you need a hammer to open a window, okay? But most of the time you don't, and it's not the proper tool for the job. So a trust would be something like that.
What are some examples of when it wouldn't be appropriate?
Okay, so if your spouse is the only spouse you've ever had and you don't have you're not a blended family in any way, and you don't have a lot of assets, you don't have a home in another state, you don't have assets, I think it's above $5 million in Maryland, okay, actually for each person, then you really know, there might be other instances when you need a trust, okay? But if you do have a house in another state, what happens with the Register of Wills is if you have a house in another state and it's not co-owned by you and your spouse, or you're the last one of the two of you to pass away, then the personal representative, after opening the estate in the state of Maryland, will have to open an auxiliary estate in the other state.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and
yes.
have to do two estates. Yeah. And to me, that just sounds like a nightmare, and I do this for a living.
It sounds like a nightmare to me, too.
Yeah, yeah. Probate isn't something to be feared. It's not a bad thing, but it does also make your assets public, at least those that you owned on your own.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, if you don't have to have a trust, and your spouse dies, or you may be alone, you die, what has to happen from a legal standpoint?
You mean if you're the second one of two to pass?
Yeah, we'll use that for an example.
Okay, so if you're the second of the spouses to pass away, well then your will will kick in unless you have already titled things to other people or things, like to a trust. Yeah. So what the Register of Wills has the personal representative do is, they issue them these letters of administration. And then it's the personal representative's job to start collecting assets and spending money on the things that need to be spent on. They have to open an estate bank account. They need to get an EIN number for that. The attorneys, if you hire an attorney can do that for you. One thing that saves somebody like hundreds of dollars. So pay attention right now. So if you are not hiring an attorney to help you with the probate process, you still would need to get an EIN number. Some estates don't necessarily need an attorney. To get an EIN number is completely free. It is completely free. But there are people out there online who will charge you $100, $200 to get the EIN number for you. Okay? You just have to go to the proper website. So if you are at a website and they're going to charge you to get the EIN number, you're at the wrong website. It's a .gov website. I think it's irs.gov. But you just get an EIN number. And even an attorney getting it for you won't cost you hundreds of dollars because it doesn't take that long. An attorney just goes online and does it for you.
What about the appointment of your representative?
Well,
you get your EIN number.
Right. So once you are appointed personal representative is when you get the EIN number.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So they're two different things, but you can't get the EIN number because you get it as the personal representative. So if you're not yet the personal representative, there's no sense in you getting the EIN number.
And who appoints the personal representative?
Well, if the person is named in the will and they are willing and they are qualified, then the Register of Wills will just appoint them the personal representative. Other people can fight that appointment if they don't think that person is qualified, or so let's say, for the sake of argument, my dad and his wife have each other as personal representative, and let's say that one of them passes away first, and the other one when they did that, it was 30 years ago, let's
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
And that person is really, the survivor is no longer really, they might be here up here, but they might just be too tired to do it. I mean, it is, because it is a big job. It is a big job. So they can either step back and let the successor personal representative do it, or the successor personal representative can fight it. It's never a good thing to fight it, though.
No.
Yeah.
But it happens a lot,
It
doesn't
happens a lot, right?
Yeah.
Now, if there's not a will, then the statute gives the list of priority. Okay, so if there's not a will, there's a spouse. The spouse, I think, has got the top priority. So unless somebody fights it, they can apply for it. Children have a secondary priority, and it goes down from there. I mean, you can have creditors can sue to be a personal representative if nobody else is doing the job, and you have a big creditor. Your creditor's going to sign up to be PR, and then they're going to collect their fee, and they're going to get their money. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Anything else that we should be thinking about as we approach that day we move to the great beyond?
Well, yeah. It's good to sit down with someone and discuss your assets and what you want to have happen with them. Okay. And even before then, because we started this conversation talking about elder law, there are proactive things that you can do to protect assets in the event that you need some state assistance.
Yeah.
So there's certain things that you can do, if you need to do that. Because what's interesting, and you don't know until you know. If you happen to be applying for Medicaid, Medicaid doesn't just look at the things that you own jointly with your spouse. If you have a spouse, Medicaid looks at the spouse's individual assets when making the determination as to whether or not you qualify for Medicaid, which I thought is odd.
It is odd. Yeah.
Right. So, so my husband and I, if he needs Medicaid, they're going to look at all of my individual assets and his assets to make a determination whether or not he qualifies for Medicaid. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and then because you can only have so much. They call them the community spouse. I can only have so much to my name. Yeah.
So to get Medicaid, you have to divorce yourself from many of those assets in some fashion to get down to a level where you might get it.
Yeah, divorce is an interesting word there. Yeah. I guess you could divorce your spouse.
Well,
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, Medicaid is a 5-year look-back period. So you have to be careful how you divorce yourself from those assets as well.
Well, that was a really good explanation, and I think
thank you.
it made the whole process clearer for me, and I hope it did for our podcast watchers.
Okay.
While you're at it, tell us what else Bird and Bird does that could help people as they age.
Okay. Well, we kind of do most. We do, of course, the estate planning. Right? Yeah. Estate planning is obviously before you pass away, which would include powers of attorney, and those are more important than you think. You can't wait to get a power of attorney until you need a power of attorney, because if you wait until you need a power of attorney to get a power of attorney, you can't get the power of attorney.
Will you say that again real fast?
You want me to say it faster? So a power of attorney, you can't wait until you need a power of attorney, because when you need a power of attorney, it's because you can no longer manage your own assets. Right? Or your own health care decisions.
Right.
Okay? And if you can no longer manage your own assets or health care decisions, you can no longer execute a power of attorney. So it's too late then. Right?
I even think of my own situation. I have the will and the trust and all that. I don't have power of attorney.
You need
for
to
both
get,
of us.
we'll talk to you later today, Gary.
Oh, yes.
So, powers of attorney are very important, because the other option is if you don't have a power of attorney, and you are no longer able to manage either your property or your person, because then what you need is a guardianship, and those are more expensive, and they're more time consuming. They take time. So in the meantime, the person who's trying to get the guardianship can't access your assets to pay for your care. You better hope that they've got some assets, in place that they can use of their own, and
Yeah. Anything else about Bird and Bird?
Well, we are a boutique law firm, so we practice many different areas of law. There are 7 active attorneys there with more than 100 years worth of experience. Yeah,
Wow.
something we don't talk about in our because I come there as the estate planning and
Right.
probate attorney. But yeah, we've got family law. We do guardianships. We help you file them, but we also we're appointed guardian for some many people that the court has to appoint a guardian because there's not a family member or a friend who can do it. Personal injury, contract law. Mr. Bird, our illustrious leader, he's a very nice gentleman. His lawyer is his second career. He's been an attorney now, I think, for 30 years. But he was an engineer. He was in construction. So when he started the law business, he was doing a lot. So we do a lot. He's got those skills to deal with construction law and whatnot. So it's really a super place.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So.
I know you've been happy there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. It's nice to talk to you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
I hope our audience gained a few insights into the process, and if you need additional help, please give Natalie a call. What's your telephone number?
301-464-7448. Bird and Bird is located in Bowie, Maryland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just so
Yeah.
people want to come to the office, they want to know about where we are.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And how do you pronounce your last name?
Perutka.
Peruka.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to take a minute and thank our sponsor today. His company is Main Street Home Lending. Mike Marinucci is his name, and he's sitting right here next to me. Thank you so much for hosting us here today and being our sponsor. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, and what you do.
Sure, yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, more than happy to help. Main Street, my office is located in Severna Park. We're your full stop shop for lending. We can work with first-time home buyers all the way up to, senior living and downsizing. And we have loans that fit every type of need. We have all of your traditional agency loans, things like your conventional loans, FHA, VA, USDA. But, we also have some loans that are really specialized in your market, which is reverse mortgages. We have reverse for purchase, which
Right.
not a lot of seniors know about. They think they can only do it for a refinance, but there's actually 2 options. You can do it for a purchase and a refi. In some instances, it does make a little more sense to do that than a traditional conventional mortgage. But yeah, we work with all types of buyers in all different stages of life. So if you ever need anything, just feel free to reach out.
What about, primarily this is for younger people, but the various programs that are there to assist them, help them buy a house?
Sure. You mean like first-time homebuyer programs and things like that?
Yeah, that
Sure.
type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're on the the beginning spectrum of the home buying phase with first-time home buyers, yeah, there are some great programs out there. One of the biggest hurdles to home buying is usually the down payment, right? Most of the time, first-time home buyers, have decent income, credit, but saving up for that down payment is usually one of the biggest hurdles and biggest challenges. And popular misconception is a lot of people think they need 20% down, which really isn't the case. You could do as little as 3% down being a first-time home buyer. But even with closing costs, and also now too, Gary, with the NAR settlement, right, buyers potentially paying their commission to their realtor, that adds a little bit more funds into the mix. So, when you're looking at all in, sometimes with the 3% down, you might need to bring 10% to the table with closing costs and things like that. So there are programs out there that help first-time home buyers with down payment assistance to help them get into that home, to help get through that barrier and that hurdle to home ownership.
Did I hear you say that they can roll the buyer's commission into the mortgage?
Not currently, not at this time. I mean, maybe in the future that's something that could happen, but as far as all of the agency loans that are out there, it is one of those things that it has to be paid at the closing table, so not allowed to roll that in currently at this time.
That ruling came out of California, and they really helped us, realtors. Well, this has been a pleasure. Again, thank you. Anything else you want to
Well, I would just say, at the time of this video, we're December 2024, interest rates are starting to come down. We should have an interest rate cut by the feds next week as well, too. So right now we're kind of hovering around mid to high 6s. So we're hoping to get that lower by the end of the year. And then, most economists are anticipating by the end of next year, we're thinking low 6s, maybe high 5s, so we just got to kind of see.
That'd be nice.
And then one other thing that kind of helps home buyers too is loan limits are actually going to increase for 2025 as well.
Yes,
So
yes.
Currently, they're at about 766, so about 7,000 or 766,000 for a conforming loan limit. Which in 2025, that's going to go up to about 806, so about a $40,000 increase, which does make it more affordable to buy a home. Interest rates are always better when you're at that loan limit or lower
Right,
versus
right.
being a jumbo loan. So that does help out with the affordability.
Okay. What's your telephone number?
443-867-3671, and we're Main Street Home Loans in Severna Park, Maryland.
So that's been absolutely great. I thank both of them for their input today. Next Step Partners is a company that serves the senior market. We do real estate. We do devices for the home so that people can be safe and their loved ones know they're safe, and many other things that people need as they age, including referrals to professionals you might need. We also have a YouTube channel, Retirement Living in Annapolis and surrounding areas, where we continually put out updates. Sometimes we'll put a listing out. Sometimes we'll do a podcast like this. So take a look there. Retirement Living, Maryland and the surrounding areas. Gary Haynes, thanks very much. We'll see you next time.